So I wanted to talk about some Giants players before we go. San Francisco Giants MVP this year, in your opinion, who do you have and why?
Well, I mean, I could go in the pitching route. I could go with one of our young hitters, but I think I'm going to go with a player that obviously has spent his entire career with us, and he had a breakout year last year, and I think he will be the MVP for our team as he normally is. But I think in a progressive way in this one, and that's Brandon Crawford. His offense was amazing last year. He got better as the season went on, especially in September. He hit, I think, like 350, I think, in all of the month of September. And I think it was July or August, he hit 450 that entire month as well. So he made a big step forward when it came to hitting. He had a career high in home runs. He had a career high in total bases hit. I think he had a career high in stolen bases as well. He just couldn't have been any better for us, and his defense obviously is impeccable. So him on the field, him in our lineup is what makes the Giants phenomenal, in my opinion. So in my book, he's going to be our MVP for the season, just because we're going to need a guy that gets on base. We're going to need a guy that does communicates really well with our defense, especially guys that, he's a magician basically at shortstop, where he can turn double plays really quickly. His glove's electric. So those things right there, when he's off the field, the Giants are a different team in a not so great way. But when he's on the field, they're the Giants for a reason. And he was rightfully paid last season. And I think his improvements will continue this season. For some reason, with management and with the front office kind of humming together, he really hit his stride this past season, and I'm expecting that to continue for Crawford. So I'm excited for him.
It took every ounce of me not to say Brandon Crawford. I love Brandon Crawford, so I love that pick. But I'm actually going to go with the newly signed Carlos Rodon. I think Rodon is very underrated. If you're a big-time baseball fan, I think you kind of knew how big this was. I know one of my in-laws was talking to me about it. He was like, "That's a really good signing." He was like, "That's going to be a tough outing for Dodgers every time." And I completely agree. I think Carlos Rodon, a lot of people forget he threw a no-hitter last year, and typically after someone throws it, he threw it early in the year. So typically when someone throws a no-hitter, especially early in the year, they kind of fall back. He just kept getting better. He was pitching so well. Now, how much can you get better with a no-hitter? He's not like he was throwing no-hitters every time. But what I mean is he didn't take a step back. He took a step forward. He was getting the strikeouts that he was still wanting to get. He was not allowing the runs. It was his first year that he had over 10 wins. He had 13 wins total, a 2.37 ERA in 24 games started. That's the best of his career. He didn't pitch high innings, and I think that's a little worrisome for me. But he only allowed 13 home runs all of last year, which is huge. And he had a whip of 0.96. So that is a big improvement from the year before where he went 1.57 in his whip. So that's a huge drop. I think Carlos Rodon, and we have seen that the Giants continue to do this. They get these guys who have injury history, which Rodon does, and they have guys who they have something in the tank. They just have to stay healthy. We've seen it recently. Kevin Gausman, Anthony DeSclafani, Alex Wood, those guys, Aaron Sanchez, another guy last year. Those guys were all brought in, and they all had injury history, and they all basically made a whole season, and the Giants won 107 games. So, and the Giants have done this for years. So now, Carlos Rodon coming, that tells you that, okay, all of MLB is taking notice, and they know that if you have a lot of injuries and you need to get back on track, you want that big payday, come to the Giants at least for a year and see what you can do. And that's why I think Carlos Rodon is going to have an MVP. Well, he's going to be the best player for the Giants this year.